Greetings, Cleveland, and welcome to Creative Focus, the show that illuminates some of Cleveland's most talented and creative artists across the genres of film, dance, music, theater, and visual arts. I'm your host, Cornell Calhoun III, and I'm honored, truly honored, to have as my guest today on Creative Focus, playwright, filmmaker, the former artistic director of the historic Calhoun House, and the creator of the Spivey journey, Mr. Terrence Spivey. Terrence, welcome to Creative Focus, man. Let's chop it up, man.
God, woo, that was a big bill. That was a New York billboard. The way you
hey man,
you're good with words anyway.
Man,
you're words.
I'm auditioning, man, for my next show with you.
You don't have to audition for me though. I already know what you can do. You're one of the main Wilsonians in the city.
Yeah,
August Wilson works.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since I was trying to think the last time we actually saw each other, and I believe it was at Live Bodies for Sale, the play by Christopher Johnston.
That's right.
The Playwrights Locus.
I was about to say Breath Boom. That was after I left Carol. I saw you that John Carroll.
But it was
right.
I think it was Christopher Johnston's,
yes.
our dear friend Christopher Johnston.
Yes,
that was a great play. Yes. So how you been?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
I know you've been busy and doing incredible things still.
Yes, I've been an artistic cocoon in a way, you know. Just after the pandemic and going, just reflecting and resurrecting in so many ways and deciding more things I need to do and getting out of the box, you know, that I normally do anyways. But.
Right. So let's rewind a bit. So you were born and raised in Texas.
Yes, Coons, Texas.
Coons, Texas.
Yes.
And went to Prairie View A&M University.
HBCU, yes. Panthers all the way. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I went to HBCU.
That's right.
Talladega College, Talladega, Alabama.
That's right.
So let's just talk about the journey from Texas to New York City. But before we do that, I just want to highlight something, because whenever I think about you, I always think about a play that we did at Calhoun in 1996, East Texas Hot Links, because that took place in Texas. Was that playwright? Was it
Eugene Lee?
Eugene Lee.
Yes.
Was he originally from Texas?
Yeah, he is. He's a very well respected actor. You know, he was at the Negro Ensemble Company 2 years later. He was in the original Soldiers play.
Oh, wow.
Denzel Washington and Samuel Jackson.
Okay.
But yeah, he has a festival, I think, somewhere in, I don't want to say it was Austin or San Antonio.
Okay.
He has a Texas Playwright Festival.
But whenever I think about that, I always think of a small town.
We always talk about that a lot too.
East Texas. So talk about that journey from Texas to New York City.
Well, I mean, for coming from a small town, I'm at the age of 11, my mother came back. She was living in Houston at the time, and I was staying with my great-grandmother in Kuntz and my great-grandfather from age 6 to 11. And then she came and grabbed me and took me to Houston. That was still a cultural shock for me, from a small town of population 2,000 to this big city, even though it's like in the late 70s. Going there, and I came at the time of the crux of the beginning of some people call it black exploitation. I call it 70s black cinema era.
Okay.
I went during that time with Trouble Man and Blackula, and it was something new to me, being from a small town, and all you see is hogs and chickens and you know.
Right.
And the difference is after seeing Pam Grier up on the screen, you know.
Right, exactly.
So, but going there and staying there, Fourth Ward and the north side of Houston, Fifth Ward, Bloody Ward, they call where the Ghetto Boys came from, and it became a big thing for me. And the Houston Oilers of the time of Earl Campbell.
Right.
You know, and it was really an eye-opener for me, and still figure out what I wanted to do, you know. But it was really film. It wasn't like I had gone to see a Peter Pan play to inspire me to get into theater. It was movies. It was the black films of the 70s that inspired me. I originally wanted to go to Hollywood so I could be in a movie with Pam Grier.
Right.
And I saw and I saw Jim Brown and Fred Williamson and Jim Kelly, and those, I mean, these are guys without capes, and it really did something for me. And me not having a father around at the time. They were like men, like father figures up there, fighting for our rights, empowerment, despite some of the little thing, negative things said about those movies, but it was something about the empowerment, about holding on to our own territory. I said, wow, I want to do something like this. And that's when I gradually got into theater when I was in high school.
Oh,
But I started with the CETA program. The CETA program, I don't want to, there's an acronym. I can't say directly what it all means, but it deals with summer programs that allow young kids from low-income housings to be able to study whatever they want to do. They get paid while they're learning what they want to do. And mine was theater.
Okay.
That was at the age of 14.
Okay.
And it was at a church, Good Hope Baptist Church in Fourth Ward, where it was called Young People's Religious Drama Workshop during the school time, but during the summer they changed it, took the religious out, and Young People's Drama Workshop, and it became licensed with the CETA program. It was a summer program throughout the city. So I did mime, we did dance, we did theater, and it culminated at the 10-week program. It culminated into us performing at the Big Jones Hall in Houston, where the Houston Ballet performed.
Right.
So that's what got me going. And then I wanted to go to Hollywood. I wanted to go to Hollywood to get into film. I didn't take theater. I didn't think theater can pay. I just thought it was just a launching pad to do film. Wow. That was a prerequisite to do film. I didn't think it was like a career.
Right.
So I was looking at people like Bill Bixby and Michael Landon and how successful they were. And I saw some workshops and studios they studied at. And I actually had brochures coming to our house. Well, I wanted to go there. And then Roots came out. And that's what really got me when I saw all of us brothers and sisters up on that screen. I'm like, how did these people, where did they come from? Forget about just the 70s, black, whole era, film era. I was looking at this film and from everybody from football players, O.J. Simpson running to then Lauren Green from Bonanza and Rifleman Chuck Connors and Good Times John Amos. I'm like, look at how they put all these people together on this screen with a meaningful history. And that's in LeVar Burton, when I read about him, he studied theater at UCLA, I want to say, or USC. He studied theater. I said, studied theater? I'm thinking of the CETA program now. Right. I didn't think it was a major. I said, okay. And gradually, I was recruited to Prairie View. After my last year in school, Lamar High School, I was recruited to Prairie View by a gentleman named C. Lee Turner. Passed away about a year and a half ago, God bless his soul. This man was a maverick. He was considered one of the best debate coaches, teachers, theater teachers, directors in the city, in the state of Texas. Well respected. And he recruited like a couple of us to Prairie View. And we got a chance to go there, and there was only maybe 6 students already there, maybe sophomores, juniors in the department. And that was also the head of the department, Dr. Ted Shine, who was a very well-respected playwright in his own right, had some of his works done at the Negro Ensemble Company in New York. And he was head of the theater department there at Prairie View. And that's when I realized how disciplined theater was. I thought it was just fun and games, like a recreational, like it was at the CETA program when I was, smaller. And he brought us in. He looked at us, the first boys and girls, all of us in the classroom. He looked at all of us our first year, our first day in class, and said, "Who are you?" Don't answer that right now, but think about who are you, and that's going to strive and make you go further. If you don't know who you are, you're not going to make it. He said it just like that. He scared us to death, man. It was like scared straight, Right. He was a Sergeant Foley in a way. People like that, they'll be put out of school right now, but it was meant to happen. It was meant to be. And I carry some of what he said. I've been carrying that for the longest since I left from New York, from Houston to New York, and even to here in Cleveland.
So do you remember the first play that you did? Do you remember the first play?
Yes, the very first play I did was called The Miracle Worker by Helen Keller.
Yeah.
I did The Miracle Worker, You know, that was a movie with Patty Duke.
Yeah.
And I played the little boy Percy, the one that she throw around like a rag doll because she was blind.
Right.
And she would every day we did it at Lamar High School. I used to be so concerned thinking this young lady actress gonna stab me by mistake because she has these scissors. In a scene, she has these scissors. She has to come at Percy, and she had to be restrained. I'm like, each time, I'm like, oh goodness, please, I hope this young lady don't stab me,
Right.
But the Miracle Worker, and after that was Oklahoma.
The interesting thing in terms of the HBCU that I went to, and I had a mentor like yours, Shedrick Lyons, who really started me in the theater. But I remember when I first got to Talladega, all the plays were white plays. But then as we transitioned into the 70s, our first play that we did, a black play, was Ceremonies and Dark Old Men by Lonnie Elder III.
Yes.
I played Russell Parker. Then later at Caribou,
Caribou, yes.
I played his partner with Peter Lawson Jones.
Yes.
So there was a transition.
Yes.
A lot of black theaters started to do black works. Black works were more accepted, and obviously that happened too at Prairie View, right?
Yes, exactly. That's all we did there. Well, let me just put it this way. We realized our teacher, by being at HBCU, he knew that automatically when he brought us in, he thought we were just going to do Raising the Sun, or Colored Girls, and be up there on the stage screaming all the time. He said it ain't about that. You have to learn to develop those characters, to have emotions coming out, not just yelling and screaming for some reason. Put the money in my hand, Walter Lee. It wasn't about that.
Right.
We also did pieces that was written by white playwrights, to show the universality.
Yeah.
We did like the Shadow Box. I Never Sang for My Father, and he used to parallel both I Never Sang for My Father along with the Amen Corner, because the father-son bonding was the same in both plays.
Right.
The friction was going on.
Right.
Something was missing.
Right.
So we did he made sure we also worked on works that was non-black. So we go to gatherings, anything, receptions, while we were as students, we could sit there and talk about David Rabe, David Mamet, Sam Shepard.
Yeah.
Because what they want to do is ask you about Lorraine Hansberry when they see you.
Right.
And you say, oh yes, and I also like, Lillian Hellman.
Because my first play was Harvey by Mary Chase.
There you go.
There you go. So I understand that.
And it's universal too.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So you made that journey to New York, and then you did your acting roles, your soap operas and so forth, and then you came to Cleveland, and what a wonderful time for us.
Yes.
When you came to Cleveland, So when you were announced as the artistic director of Caribou, what was the biggest challenge for you?
The biggest challenge was, that's a very good question.
Because at the time, Caribou was kind of floundering, struggling. I think Jerry McClammy had taken over from Margaret Ford Taylor.
Yes.
And then, so the theater was kind of floundering around, because the first play that we did after Margaret left was East Texas Hot Links.
Yes.
And there was a period when they were trying to get the actors to boycott and not do the play. And I was like, I'm not me. I'm not going on stage.
Wow.
Charles Brown was in that production, and Kevin Willingham.
The great Charles Brown.
So just talk about that challenge when you came.
I think before, I would say my concern before the challenge approached me was getting the people there to not underestimate the audience here in Cleveland. That was the thing. It wasn't about the audience or the artist. The things that we talked about beforehand, before I stepped in the position, they told me about, how some audience may not understand this play or that play, or their mentality, the blue-collar town. And I felt that, well, you brought me here to help make a difference, so we can define that it's not the audience. You go to New York, it doesn't have a marquee that states which city, so each audience can know, oh, I only see this play or that play, I understand that play or this play. You don't see an audience only for like Cleveland audience only. It's universal.
Right.
So my thing was to get the administrative people to understand that what we line up here, the speech season, it's a test. Well, it's a test. We go see if these people are don't get it or not.
Right. Right.
Because they don't go to New York. Most of them go to New York, or they don't go to, Chicago or California. So that's why I love the fact of even whether plays I direct or not, that I line up for the season. Some people know that I'm known for staying for every show, all 16 performances,
Right.
4 plays a week.
Right.
I stay for all of them so I can meet the community. That was my way of getting a chance to know,
You always did.
know what they like. And
Yeah.
some of them like, wow, we need something. You don't play it safe, do you?
No, never.
So, but that was the thing, was getting for us not to underestimate the people here, the community. And it was getting the administration to understand that.
Because I know in 2005, you were named the top theater honcho.
Yeah, I'm like, what they...
And then in 2006, you were the director of the best performance by a show, Dream on Monkey Mountain by
God,
Derek
yes.
Walcott. And what I remember the most about that play was I had 13 monologues.
You did a fantastic job, man.
I started learning monologues in December, and we didn't
remember
start
that.
rehearsal until March.
I remember that.
And that was the production of the year. Talk about, that was a massive, we had the kids and they had to be out at a certain time because we had that scene of nudity. Talk a little bit about
Oh, you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Rodney Freeman,
Rodney
I tell you, the
Freeman,
great
yeah.
Rodney Freeman. Let me just say this real quick. I have to just give you props on the fact of how you and Peter Lawson Jones, there's a few others I know, you all really commit to words. I remember any piece we work on, from that even to that and the Split Second.
Oh yeah.
You get you want to say, okay, can I get the script now? And Peter's that way, and I like the way you really commit to the words. That's what it's about. It's the words and honoring the playwright. But
thank you.
Derek Walcott's play, that was quite interesting. There, it was an honor. It was honoring Ron O'Neill, the late great Superfly Ron O'Neill of Calhoun, because he had done that production at the Negro Ensemble Company a couple of years back in the 1970s, and he brought it back to Calhoun during post-production of Superfly. Mm-hmm. He brought it there and he performed in it. He played the same role, and I said, let's honor.
Did he play Macaque?
No, he played Corporal Estrada.
Oh, Corporal Estrada.
Yeah.
That Rodney played.
That
right?
Rodney played
in our production.
And Roscoe Lee Brown played it in Negro Ensemble with him years later.
Okay.
But I forgot the gentleman's name, well respected too, of Calhoun. He did Shakespeare. He played Macaque.
Okay.
But yeah, that piece was really, it was good timing. That was actually the first production, probably the first and last straight play, non-musical, I did with a musical-sized cast. Because mostly musicals have like 30 people. This play had about, 30, 35?
Yeah, at least, yeah.
And good timing that Michael Metcalf was in residence at Calhoun at the time with his dance company, the Cleveland Contemporary Dance Theater. So we were able to use some of their dance members in the play as well. They played minor roles. So we didn't have to worry about the budget because he took care of them while Calhoun took care of the actors. So that piece was really mind-blowing. It's mystical. It's very dense. It's mystical. It's magical realism off in it. And the fact of, how Macaque dreams of himself thinking he's a king of Africa, and how we play with that, an amazing set design by Richard Morris.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness. And the light design. And just the magical stuff that we had, but it took the actors to make that work, and E.B. Smith, E.B. Smith,
yeah.
and Jimmy Woody,
yeah.
And the late, who played, he was Calhoun as well.
Anthony Talley.
Oh my God, yeah, the late great Anthony Talley. It was beautiful. I remember it was 3 hours, I think, right? Like
Yeah,
close to
3.
3.
Yeah, 3 hours.
And we were concerned about the kids, though. We were concerned. It had to be about what? Because most of them were part of the dance company.
Yeah.
There was the adult dance company of Michael Metcalf. Then there was also the youth dance company, and some of them were part of the play. And I found out what kept them going. You know, in the speakeasy, every time they finished their scenes, they go in the back, and I start smelling popcorn during rehearsals. and it was like, it'd be like, what, 10:30 at night? And I said, okay, whatever keeps them happy.
Whatever keeps them happy.
Just let them stay back there.
Fabulous production.
Yeah, it was. They stayed awake and they had that popcorn. They were fine, you know.
Terrence, and later on, you directed a play depicting the situation with Tamir Rice, won national acclaim. Talk about that.
Whew! Wow! Oh man, that was my second production since after I left Caramel, I think. Playwrights Local reached out to me. I never forget, we met at Starbucks in South Euclid. And yeah, this is really up in my, just up my alley in terms of the type of works that I'm about,
Right.
the social justice, social awareness. And they reached out and said, we don't have a script yet, but we'd like to put this piece together called Objectively Reasonable, the shooting of Tamir Rice,
Right.
And I said, okay. I said, I already know a vision where I want to go with this, because they said a collection of vignettes.
Right.
I said, I already see where I want to go before we even put this on the canvas. I want to bring it like a black arts movement feel of the 70s, the poets and actors and playwrights on the stage, and they speak out. And it's going to be a theater of anger. I told David Todd, and I said, look, it's going to be a theater of anger. What do you mean? I said, because my understanding, and particularly too, what confirmed that when I met his darling mother, Samara Rice, who we're good friends now, she talked about the fact how no one here in the city, not many people, spoke up. They didn't get the march like you saw in Ferguson, the big marches, for Tamir.
That's true, yeah.
And I remember we met her actually on 6th Avenue around here. It was a lawyer's office. We met her, me and David Todd, and she said, so what you gonna do, Mr. Spivey? What you in Caribou gonna do? I said, I'm not in Caribou anymore. So what you gonna do? What you gonna do about this? I said, well, ma'am, I'm gonna empower through the arts. We're gonna speak through the arts. We're gonna raise our fists through the arts, empowerment through the arts. So doing that, after we put that together, Michael Oatman, Mary Weems, Lisa Langford, Mike Geither, David Todd, they all came, and that's how it came together. And I said, we have to make this work. And getting the actors together, I said, we're taking this a different direction. It's not the narrative, the standard narrative piece you see. It's very unconventional. So I told a lot of actors, be ready, because it's not the type of play you've done before. That means you're stopping, starting, you're turning, you're changing, you're being an object. You're not an object, you're a character, you're switching, and you're using, a white mask for representation as well. And you're gonna be dressed in all black.
And you actually did this twice, right?
Yes, we did it 16 of August.
Okay.
And we revived it like around, I think February. Yeah, February, I think we brought it back, 2017. I remember that because I was doing 2 plays back to back. Radio Golf for the Ensemble Theater. And I was going back and forth rehearsing both. I'm like, oh my God.
You're responsible for giving so many individuals opportunities to perform, to direct, to stage manage, myself included. And you've also given opportunities for new works.
Thank you.
In 2015, my play, The Mighty Scarabs, was granted
Yes.
a world premiere
Yes.
at Caribou House.
Yes.
And it's hard to get new works in the theater.
It is. It is.
So why did you take a chance on that play, Terrence?
One of the reasons, because I know it's been years, because you and I have been working so much as you as an actor. And I know you've been saying, Terrence, when are we going to get your work as a playwright? I was so taken back by you as an actor, but I remember, I know you had a reading of it was a different title. At the,
Originally it was East 43rd. It was in the Arena Fest.
The Arena Fest.
But then when we decided the Obama did a workshop of it, we changed it to East Tech because we wanted the people to recognize, understand that it was an East Tech play.
Yes.
Because even the original title, East 43rd, was where I lived.
Yes.
We wanted, it's more vocal, East Tech. Everyone knows East Tech.
Right.
And it was a marketing tool.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was a timing, because I remember having a meeting with you and Chris at Rascal House.
Right, yes.
Across from Cleveland State University.
Exactly.
I remember I had a meeting with y'all
right.
because it was when I realized the slots, and I thought about March and March Madness and this whole thing about basketball, and I knew about the workshop, and I said, you know what, let's finally take a chance on another playwright. So I've done it with one, it was Michael Oatman, but I actually did it also with Mary Weems with Closure.
Mm-hmm, right, exactly.
That was her first branch.
About the foreclosure situation.
Foreclosure of homes.
Right, exactly.
And I say, let's continue to work this side to do what the, Negro Ensemble Company, New Federal Theater. They were known for developing playwrights too, from Joseph Walker to Lonnie Elder to Steve Carter. All these people, they helped, develop these people. So it wasn't about just developing the actors, but what about the artists? What about the playwrights? And getting their works. Not only that, an actor could leave a theater and become big time and it makes that theater looks good. Same thing for a playwright. And I've always been wanting to still nail it for me as artistic director, Cornell, to say, hey, I want to be able to say I left here and a play left Caramel and it was developed and published in
Yeah.
And it could have happened with Michael Oatman too. Michael, of course,
Right,
in New York Times with Tupac piece when he asked me.
Exactly.
He was throwing me all these other pieces. I said, do a Tupac piece first. I think that's gonna make it. That's gonna do it. And that's when his career just boom.
That was an incredible vision because the play was published, Original Works Publishing in L.A. and then went on to be a part of the Cleveland Public Library system. Which is extraordinary.
Yeah, because it's something I could put on my resume too.
Right.
Because a lot of theaters, particularly white theaters, they have development programs for playwrights, and their works they can name the list of playwrights as many as they can name actors that come from their theaters, and it also draws more playwrights, and it draws more actors. It's just a ripple effect of connecting dots for everybody throughout the arts. So I was really game and really putting it up, and some excellent, amazing actors you had in it. I love the opening night. We had the cheerleaders from East Tech in the lobby. Mayor Jackson was there, and
my mentor Dorothy
Silver. Yeah, she was there. And I loved it.
And the plain dealer mentioned all of those
those
people in
the play. I loved it. It was something I said, okay, if anything else, I'm glad we had something from Caramel during my administration. Because when you look in a script, Samuel French or whatever, you'll see the original where it came from.
Exactly.
The actors who were in it.
Yeah. I made sure that was in there.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about your journey from theater to film.
Yes.
Your very successful award-winning film, The Resurrection of a Black Man. Talk about how did you come about that? How did you make that switch?
Well, it was during the pandemic. What happened was I've been wanting to do a story. My son and I, Sinke, we went to Kuntz during a reunion in 2018, a family reunion. It was a high school reunion. West Coast high school reunions in these small towns where they invite, it's family. They invite everybody. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have graduated. You could have left at the age of 10, 11. Mm-hmm. They still want you home. Mm-hmm. So we were there, and I I started reinforcing, asking questions about certain things that happened back home. And I asked him about, and I never knew the man's name at the time. And when I said, hey, what about the man that was dragged? My great grandmother told me about him when I was, when she was raising me, you know? And they say, yes, he was dragged in 1939, da, da, da. And I said, oh, man. And he gave me more and more what happened to him. I said, I got to do something on it. I got to do a full-length version, a documentary about his life. They kept telling me, you better get back here quick, because there's a lot of elderly people now that has books, albums of old scraps of, from newspapers, and you want to get them now and interview them. So pandemic hit, George Floyd situation, and the fact that he's screaming out, mama, mama. And I remember reading an article when I was doing more research on the David Byrd, the guy who was dragged. When I was doing more research on him, I read that they dragged his body to his mother's home, and she came out and looked at the body and says, "You've done right, white folks. You've done right." She walked away. This mother's son bun, this mother's son thing with this, and then the George Floyd. Now, before I can jump into doing the film, Bob Ivory, I don't know if you know Bob Ivory. He's a well-respected educator, music director. He writes music. Out the blue, he said, Terrence. I said, well, he said, I'd like for you to come and, and direct a music video for me here in the city. I said, huh? This is right before the pandemic really hit. And I said, okay. So I did the music video, and we did that. So, I'm loving this. This may be a start to kick in and do this documentary down the line. And then it hit. I said, you know what? I got to do this now with this George. I got to do this now. I can't do the full length. Let me do just a short film. And I called up a friend of mine, Jennifer Hearn, because at the time she had a photography session, photography office over at Shore Culture Center around Lakeshore. I said, look, I got to do this thing on David Byrd. I got to do something on this man because his connection with George Floyd, the mama situation, the mother-son combination. And I said, I want to do a short film. I want to do it, and we want to play it like do a Facebook Live and watch every party so everybody can watch it. I was angry. Everybody else is doing readings. God bless them. I like that, Zooms during that time. I was so angry. My anger was busting out the seams of the borders of that. I couldn't be part of that right now. I had to go out. I had to get out and do something else. So we shot it. We did. She said, Terrence, I'm not good at doing motion, film. I said, okay. So she said, let's look at doing stills. I said, I like that.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah,
I like that. It was really a takeoff too on this foreign French foreign film that was known. It was 26 minutes that we knew about. They used slides, these still shots to tell the story. Only one motion moment in it. And so I told her that, I said, you know what, we're doing 8 minutes, 46 seconds in connection to George Floyd, but I want to have two motions in that 8 minute, 46 seconds. How can I do that, Terrence? This classic film, French film, had one motion in a 20-minute. Right. I said, we can make it happen. We can make it happen. So we shot it. We did it in black and white because we shot it in this nice little park in front of the shore. We shot it there.
Right.
And we brought in Michael May, Janine Gaskin, Sharon Fox, and Sharon Fox, young nephew, played the younger version of David. And I said, let's do it black. Yeah, let's definitely do it black and white, so don't show too much contemporary.
Right.
Because if you had it color, there's a moment you could see Wendy's sign. You can see the Wendy's sign. Right, that black and white just
right. Yeah.
The magic of film, right?
Right.
So we did it, and I said, well, wow, okay. She started editing. We're going back and forth because it was really a complete shutdown now. We had to go back and forth. Michael May, one of the other great actors, I wrote him a script on what he had to narrate. I said, you're gonna just be the voice of him. You're gonna be the voice of David right now. You're gonna be the voice of him right now in terms of explaining what happened to you, like William Holden in Sunset Boulevard.
And so that's how it all came.
That's how it came about. And then somebody said, you should put this in. We weren't planning to put it in festivals at all. It was just for everybody to watch it and something to use to get more funding when I do my full length.
Right.
And so we sent it out and we started getting responses. I saw social justice. 8 minute below 8 minutes, 10 minutes categories of film. And we got certain awards, social justice awards, and then gradually I put a stop to it because I started getting busy working on other projects. People still sending me notices like, hey, enter it here, enter it. And, but congratulations to you though.
That attests to how powerful it is.
Yes,
In fact, let's take a look at a clip from Resurrection of a Black Man.
Thank you.
I'm David Gregory, the last black man hung and burned to a stake in Texas. It was December 2nd, 1933. I heard throughout the town I was being accused of shooting a white woman, Nellie Williams Brockman, with a shotgun. Now, being an ex-con and black, I went out hiding because I know they will find a black man to accuse when one of their own did it. Did I do it? Just follow me. Now, the Hardin County Sheriff and his men chased me down into a church. I tried to defend myself with my pistol, not a shotgun that killed that woman. Did you hear me? Did you hear me? I never had one. They shot me in my right eye, messed up my face, and took me down. They took me to a hospital in Beaumont, Texas, 25 miles away. Doctors told them I wouldn't survive. Go figure. The doctors also heard that a mob from Kuntz was heading to Beaumont to get me. The doctors wanted no part of that. They drove me to Vida, 7 miles east of Beaumont. By the time they made it into Orange County, I was already gone. But after laying in the back seat and curled up in a fetal position and hitting bumpy roads for over an hour and 11 minutes from Kuntz to Beaumont to Vida, I was just wishing my mama can save me, can hold me like when I was her little boy. I breathed my last breath as that imagination faded.
Incredible, man. Incredible work.
Thank you.
And then, it never stops with you. You were commissioned to direct and write a play in Mobile, Alabama?
Mobile, Alabama, yes.
Let's talk about that for a moment.
Yes. Before I knew about Clotilda, the last American slave ship to illegally import enslaved Africans to America in 1860, based off a bet, by this gentleman. I had already gone to Mobile, like during the time I was at Caramoo, a gentleman named Greg Cyprian, who was an arts guru there in Mobile. He happened to come by. He was in town. And she happened to come by and saw he saw God's trombones. He saw God's trombones and loved to say, oh man, he to this day, he still says he's blown away and never seen a production like that. Musicals he's seen. And he brought me there to Mobile and told me the story. And the whole idea too was the fact of helping him getting some black theater going there in Mobile.
And what's the story briefly?
Yeah, of the play.
Of the play, yes.
Yeah, the play is basically about the ancestors, the descendants, Clotilda Descendants Association. They reached out to me like 2 years ago and said, "We know of your work. We would love to commission you to write a piece about our ancestors." Because they have books. There's the Barracoon by Zora Neale Hurston, all these other books. But we don't have any ownership. We don't have no voice. The authors own the books. The movie called Descendant is out now on Netflix, which the descendants are the voices in that. But we don't have a story about our ancestors. We can't hear their voices. We would love to have an ownership of something to hear our ancestors speak. And that's how it came about. And it's about them resurrecting. Their ancestors resurrect. They have risen after the ship was found and discovered in 2019 in the Mobile Bay, because they found it intact in 2019. The ship's still intact.
That's an incredible
isn't it?
story. Let's take a look at the promo.
Yes.
Ocean in my bones.
Ocean in my bones.
Ocean in my bones.
Yes.
Continue to be awe-inspiring, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
So my last question for you is, tell me what the Spivey journey is. Where will that take you?
The Spivey journey is evolving. It just continues to evolve. It's a work in progress for me. It's a continuous work in progress. It just shows, not just with me. It used to be where I put just basic, some things I don't put on my regular Facebook page, I put on Spivey Journey, but I've decided to put other things too, so I can remember, certain articles or whatever. I put them up there as well, so I can go back, because it's like archival. It's an archival for me.
Right.
I can go. That times I'll go back to that. If I forget something and I can pull from it, I'll search the date or search the name, the title, and things will pop up from 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I love that title, the
Spivey Journey. Yeah. And plus my theater company, Powerful Long Ladder, is kind of, I got that page too. So,
and how did you get that title of Powerful Long Ladder?
That was a title when I was in high school. I remember reading a book on all the poets, Sterling Brown, Langston Hughes, and Clark, County Cullen, and I saw Owen Dotson. And Owen Dotson, which I didn't know I'll meet him down the line, he had a book. It said it was a book collection of stories about the black struggle back in the 1940s. It was called Powerful Long Ladder.
Okay.
And that's how I got it from Owen Dotson. And connecting the dots, when I went to college, I didn't realize my teacher, Ted Shine, studied under Owen Dotson. Owen Dotson was the lead teacher at Howard University back in the 1960s, 70s. He taught by teacher Ted Shine, Amir Baraka, Leroy Jones, Richard Wesley, Leon Isaac Kennedy,
All the iconic
Felicia
figures,
Rashad,
yeah.
Debbie. He taught all those people at Howard.
Right.
He was a well-respected, poet, but also a good playwright as well and director.
Powerful,
Powerful
Long
Long Ladder was based on a book that that he wrote.
Incredible, man.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
for
Thank
being
you.
on.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
I want to thank my special guest, Mr. Terrence Spivey, for hanging out with us on Day on Creative Focus. So that's it, Cleveland. We're out. But remember, a true artist is not only inspired, but inspires others. I'm Cornell Hubert Calhoun III for TV 20 and Creative Focus. Until the next time becomes our time. Cleveland, be well, be safe.